Picture a luxury trip, a private island in the Bahamas. Famous musicians would play on white sand beaches. You were promised exclusive parties, fine dining, and grand rooms. All this was for a select few. You saw marketing across social media. Famous influencers promoted the dream. They made it seem real. You paid thousands for a ticket. This was your spot in paradise. You expected an unforgettable weekend, a unique event. It would be far from your daily grind. Your arrival showed a different truth. The luxury villas were emergency tents. Gourmet meals became single slices of processed cheese on dry bread. The headlining musicians did not appear. You found a chaotic construction site, not an exclusive festival. Your promised paradise became a scene of confusion. There was anger and abandonment. This was not a simple failure of planning. This was a deliberate deception. It was a $27.4 million fraud. Billy McFarland organized the Fyre Festival. He was behind other fraudulent activities too. His schemes caused financial losses for many people and businesses. The methods used to create this illusion are not unique. They appear in many other frauds. Understanding them can protect you.
The influencer illusion.
Billy McFarland built his Fyre Festival on a grand vision, but that vision relied heavily on an illusion.
How did he create such a convincing mirage? In January 2017, Kendall Jenner posted an orange square to her Instagram account. She told her millions of followers that her Geo Good Music family would perform at Fyre Festival. This post generated enormous excitement. Many saw it as a personal, genuine endorsement from a trusted celebrity. But it was not. Her involvement drew scrutiny and legal action, and she later settled a lawsuit related to her promotional post. This highlighted a critical part of the fraud. Public figures can promote events or products on social media for money. And their endorsements are often advertisements, not genuine recommendations. You see a famous face, and you assume authenticity. But the promotion might just be a transaction. Consider Rahman Abbas, known as Hush Puppy, an Instagram influencer who operated from Dubai. He filled his feed with images of luxury cars, designer bags, and private jets. He presented himself as a real estate mogul. This curated online persona built an image of immense wealth and success. He leveraged this perceived legitimacy to defraud people out of millions of dollars. His lifestyle was the illusion, his influence the tool. This mechanism shows how easily perceived legitimacy can be manufactured.
A popular figure or a lavish online presence can make an event or an individual seem trustworthy. It bypasses natural skepticism. It encourages belief without verification. This makes it harder to spot a scam. This manufactured trust also extended to the people working on the ground. The unpaid bills of great Exuma. The powerful illusion of the Fyre Festival, broadcast through celebrity endorsements, promised a luxury experience to thousands of attendees. But away from the cameras, on the Bahamian island of Great Exuma, a different and much harsher reality was taking shape. Here's what happened to the local businesses there. For weeks, they prepared for a massive influx of wealthy guests. They envisioned a significant boost to their small island economy.
They hired extra workers, some brought in from neighboring Ks. They ordered more supplies than ever before, stretching their credit and their resources. This was a once-in-a-lifetime chance for many. Maryann Rolle owned a restaurant on Great Exuma. Her establishment, like many others, was ready for the event. She had staff relying on her for their livelihoods. She had a community built around her business. Festival organizers had made firm promises of payment for her services. They outlined arrangements for huge orders of food, fresh seafood, and drinks. They guaranteed labor costs for her expanded team. These were formal agreements.
The festival dates arrived. Maryann Rolle and her team worked tirelessly, day and night. They cooked, they served, they provided essential support for the early wave of attendees. Then the chaos began. Guests arrived to find unfinished accommodations and no infrastructure. The promised luxury evaporated. The entire event collapsed. Soon, the Fyre Festival quickly unraveled into a widely publicized disaster. Guests were stranded without basic services. The organizers, including Billy McFarland, departed the island abruptly. They left behind a vast network of unpaid bills and broken promises. The festival grounds, once buzzing with activity, fell silent. Maryann Rolle faced an immediate and impossible situation. Her staff had worked long hours. They expected their wages. Her suppliers needed payment for their delivered goods. She could not simply tell them the money was gone. She felt a profound responsibility to her employees and her community. So, Maryann Rolle took decisive action. She spent $50,000 of her own personal savings. This was not a small sum. For her, it represented years of hard work and her personal savings. She used her funds to cover the costs of food and labor related to the festival. She covered costs herself, spending her personal savings on food and labor for the festival. This act by Maryann Rolle highlights a devastating but common consequence of large-scale financial fraud. Fraudulent schemes often inflict deep financial devastation. They hit individuals and small businesses who are often far removed from the initial grand transactions. These hidden victims pay a very real price for the deception. This local hardship on Great Exuma, the quiet suffering of everyday people, was just one piece of a larger, carefully constructed deception.
The paid illusion.
The unpaid bills for local businesses in Great Exuma were one stark reality. Yet, for a time, a completely different vision captured the world's attention. How did one individual manage to sell such an elaborate illusion? And what were the mechanisms that led to its inevitable downfall? Have you ever scrolled through social media, seeing someone famous promote a new product? You might assume their enthusiasm is genuine, a true personal endorsement. But for the Fyre Festival, this assumption was precisely the point of the fraud. Picture this, the sheer scale. Over 400 social media influencers simultaneously posted an identical orange tile image to Instagram. This wasn't an accident. This was a coordinated, precisely timed marketing blitz across countless feeds.
For many online, it was unavoidable. To the viewer, it seemed like a spontaneous, organic movement.
It felt like everyone, from their favorite celebrity to that travel blogger they followed, was suddenly talking about this one incredible event. This created a powerful, almost irresistible sense of FOMO, fear of missing out. It tapped into a desire for unique experiences. This illusion was born from the audience's trust in these figures. They appeared to be sharing an exciting discovery, not selling a product. But many of these posts lacked any clear disclosure that they were paid advertisements. What was actually happening was a targeted campaign designed to manufacture an image. Billy McFarland's team paid these influencers significant sums to project an image of luxury, exclusivity, and a once-in-a-lifetime experience. This was not about genuine belief in the festival. It was about monetized influence creating a perception of reality. This lack of transparency allowed the promotion to appear authentic, making it highly effective. The Federal Trade Commission later issued warnings specifically regarding the lack of disclosure in these types of promotions. This official action highlighted the deceptive nature of the campaign, and it served as a cautionary tale for the burgeoning influencer industry. Furthermore, some influencers faced lawsuits for their involvement, accused of misleading the public. These legal actions underscored the importance of transparency in digital marketing, revealing the true cost of an undisclosed endorsement. So the takeaway is clear. Consumers need to question the authenticity of celebrity endorsements without clear disclosure. An endorsement without transparency is just a paid advertisement, not a genuine recommendation. It is a commercial transaction disguised as personal opinion. But while this digital illusion captivated millions online, another, more immediate burden was settling on those closest to the action. The local burden. Beyond the widespread marketing illusion, the Fyre Festival left a trail of immediate financial devastation in the Bahamas. They constructed stages. They set up tents. They prepared for thousands of visitors, working long hours under the sun. These workers relied on promised funds for their livelihoods. Imagine you spent a week on a job, counting on that money for your family. For many, that paycheck covers rent. It buys groceries for the week. It pays for a child's school supplies or a trip to the doctor. But for these Bahamian workers, those payments never arrived. The festival organizers never paid them for their work. This left hundreds of families facing sudden, severe financial hardship. They had put in the effort. They had delivered on their part of the bargain. Yet, they received nothing for their labor. This kind of fraud doesn't just disappoint ticket holders who lost their money on a failed luxury experience. It strips away the financial stability of an entire local community. It takes food off tables. It creates unexpected burdens on people who could least afford to lose a single day's wage. Billy McFarland, who pleaded guilty to wire fraud for defrauding investors and a ticket vendor, had organized an event that left many unpaid and promises unfulfilled. This shows how easily a fraudulent venture can inflict devastating financial losses on those least able to absorb them. It reveals a key mechanism in the festival's inevitable downfall. What you think is the point of this story isn't. This kind of financial injury isn't an accident. It is a symptom of how the entire illusion was built. These empty promises to workers were just one thread in a larger, more complex web of deception.
The loan deception.
The unpaid bills mounted. The local economy suffered. But how was this lavish illusion kept alive financially? Billy McFarland needed capital to fund the Fyre Festival facade. He didn't get it honestly. Federal indictments outline the method. McFarland presented falsified financial documents to lenders and investors. He provided altered stock ownership statements and fraudulent income statements to inflate his own financial condition and Fyre Media's revenue.
This deception helped him raise millions of dollars from investors. Imagine you are a loan officer. You review a stack of official-looking papers. They detail an applicant's vast wealth. Brokerage statements, bank records, everything appears legitimate. The numbers are impressive. You approve the loan. That money then enters McFarland's accounts. He needed more capital. He approached multiple institutions. Each time, the narrative was similar: inflated numbers, fabricated assets, false statements. He was borrowing against a future that was never real. He wasn't just selling a fantasy to festival goers, he was selling one to the financial institutions themselves. This meant more than just misleading individuals. It meant subverting financial safeguards. This was not an isolated event. The federal plea agreements confirm a systematic pattern. McFarland falsified records. He misled lenders and investors. This allowed him to access millions in funds that fueled the Fyre Festival deception. This hidden mechanism enabled the fraud to continue much longer. It revealed a deeper layer of deceit. A deceit targeting the very foundations of finance. This pattern of misrepresentation extended beyond just loans. Lessons from the collapse.
Billy McFarland's loan deception revealed a strategy built on grand promises without substance. How do you spot a mirage before you are stranded? The Fyre Festival promised an exclusive, luxury event on a private Bahamian island.
You might have seen the social media posts, supermodels posing on pristine beaches, luxurious villas, and gourmet food. But the actual event delivered bare-bones tents, boxed lunches, and pure chaos. This profound disconnect between promise and reality offers a clear lesson in identifying financial red flags. Consider Rahman Abbas, known as Hush Puppy. He cultivated an image of extreme wealth online, showcasing a life of designer goods and private jets. He claimed to be a real estate developer, yet his lavish displays were a red flag, masking a vast criminal enterprise. He was later sentenced to 11 years for money laundering tied to business email compromise frauds. His extravagant claims of legitimate income never held up to scrutiny. Now, take a look. Imagine an investment opportunity promising to double your money in just a few weeks. They offer little verifiable information about their operations. They press you for an immediate decision. These types of situations, whether a music festival or a financial offer, share common warning signs. The promises appear too good to be true. The specifics remain vague. That quiet doubt you feel, that hesitation, is often a valuable indicator. Skepticism is your most powerful tool against such claims. And when you put it all together... So, how did Billy McFarland manage to sell such an elaborate illusion? He built a mirage. He leveraged social media,
turning influencer posts into what felt like genuine endorsements. You saw models on pristine beaches, a curated vision of luxury. These public figures amplified his message, often without disclosing they were paid for their promotions. This created a powerful, yet ultimately false, sense of authenticity. It convinced many that a true luxury experience was imminent. The mechanisms that led to its inevitable downfall were just as clear. Behind the social media glamour, no real festival was taking shape. Billy McFarland secured millions of dollars in loans by presenting falsified financial documents. This was a scheme built on multiple layers of deception, targeting not just consumers, but also financial institutions. When the illusion evaporated, the consequences spread. Local businesses and individuals in the Bahamas, far removed from the initial transactions, were left with significant unpaid debts. Their everyday lives suffered immediate and devastating financial losses. The Fyre Festival was a house of cards. Its collapse was both spectacular and inevitable. It showed how easily grand claims, especially those amplified by celebrity, can mislead. It demonstrated the critical need for skepticism when faced with extraordinary promises. What lessons can be learned from the Fyre Festival's spectacular failure to better protect yourself from similar schemes?